Hello, my beautiful beings. Welcome to Heart Space Atelier. My name is Henry. I'm your host. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome or welcome back if this is your first time here. Heart Space Atelier, my podcast, is a space where we dive deep into our inner wells of love and magic and how to reconnect with them. And in today's episode, listen, I was sitting down and I have so many thoughts within my mind, and I feel like I might struggle a bit to articulate them and to bring it across clearly. But recently I went through a very interesting phase in my life, which kind of showed me, it mirrored back to me how I value myself. And I realized that in some areas I value myself very well and I treat myself very well, and I worship the altar of myself. And I'm doing a great job in some areas, but in the past 2 weeks, I would say I've had certain events and situations happen that made me realize that in some instances, in some areas in my life, I have yet to treat myself like a higher being, treat myself with respect, treat myself like the inner goddess or god we all have inside of ourselves. And I really wanted to dive deep into this, so we are going to be talking about people pleasing, my crazy people pleasing past. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories because I feel like it is very important to show you where I'm coming from with this. And if you are in the same boat like me and you are really trying hard to break out of this pattern of treating yourself like trash and finally realizing that you yourself, you are an altar that is meant to be worshipped, that is meant to be deeply valued and decorated and treated with respect, care, and beauty and magic. And I was just seeing a reel about this actually, where a woman was talking about altars and how to decorate them and the importance of them. And it made me realize, your body is your altar, how you decorate it, what clothes you put on, what perfume you put on, what makeup you put on, definitely reflects the energetic wavelength on the physical realm, but also how do we treat our inner altar, our brain, our head, our hearts, our feelings? And it just really made me think. So I wanted to yap about this. By the way, I am so caffeinated. I just had a iced coconut latte as I was walking outside in the sun after a rainy morning. Everything was glittery because everything was still so wet, and the sun was shining beautifully. Let me take you back to a little time travel. When I was around 8 to 10 years old, I had a friend. And that friend treated me and everybody in her orbit like shit. Shit is an understatement, okay? This friend was not a friend. She was evil incarnate, okay? I'm so sorry to break it to you. And this is no judgment, because I also realized later on, after not being in contact with this girl anymore, that she had a really, really difficult upbringing, a really difficult childhood. So I understood why she became the way she became. Obviously, no excuse, but also she was 8, you know. And this friend would create drama. This friend would bully me every time we meet. This friend would be completely out of her mind, angry with me. And for literally no reason. And there was this interesting thing, like, I really looked up to her, you know, and I don't know if some of you have the same experience, but like as a child, I feel like it is a common experience. We have this friend or person we look up to, we just find so inspiring. And even though she bullied the fuck out of me, I found her so inspiring. And I always wanted to kind of like do what she does because she was so cool, in my opinion. She was so, in my opinion, I really looked up to her. I admired her style. I admired her games. I admired her toys. I was like, I want the same thing. And this triggered her a bunch more. Like, she got so triggered by it every time I would show up with the same toy or game or whatever. And then there was just like more bullying and bullying and bullying. And there was even a time when I would, like, you know, buy myself my own games or toys or whatever, and I would show up with that, and she would copy me, and then she would kind of like twist it and tell me that I shouldn't have that toy anymore because she has it now and I was the one copying her. Like, it was, now that I think of it, it was insane. But the issue here was that I never, ever, ever stood up to her. And if she wanted me to apologize, I would do it in a heartbeat because I was so inspired by her. And I grew up in an environment where I wasn't really taught how to stand up for myself because I saw my family being involved with some really toxic people, but like never defending themselves and like, you know, maybe defending themselves, but like always going back to the toxic BS, you know? And this really showed me. And now, like, just like looking back on it, I'm like, oh my goodness, of course I didn't have the tools to break free from whatever the fuck that friendship was, you know? Eventually we drifted apart, thankfully. And it just recently came back into my consciousness, like this story and how big it was and how I never ever ever stood up for myself, except one time I did, because the situation was so bad that even I was like, you know, I was mad. And that actually threw the friendship off. And after that, we grew apart. This whole story really put things into perspective for me now because I wasn't thinking about it for quite a while. And with recent events that occurred in my life, it kind of brought me back to that friendship, or should I say like fiendship, because she was not a friend, she was a fiend, okay? She was an enemy. But yeah, I sent her all the love. Hope she's doing well. Hope she's no longer bullying people. I don't know. And so I want to talk to you about something else that happened recently, which kind of led me down this rabbit hole of discovering that I have yet to establish higher boundaries, that I have yet to treat my inner temple with more kindness and protectiveness. Because I was at the social gathering. Very fun gathering, very beautiful. There were a couple of people I had never met before. And this one guy comes up to me and my partner, because we were kind of like standing in the back. And he came up to us, and then my partner kind of left and like was like getting something, I don't know. And this guy was kind of like, you know, when like in a social situation you feel like this person is targeting you and they see you as their like communication pet, because he just would not stop talking and he didn't ask a single question, and he would just like go straight into like whatever the fuck he's going through right now, like his failing marriage and like all the like marriage issues he has and like stuff. And I was like, why does he even feel that I am a safe space for him to like pour all of that out? Like, we're supposed to be having fun. I don't know you. I don't care about your failing marriage. I'm so sorry. Like, I would care if the conversation was balanced and if we had talked before and if I had known you, then I would care. But I don't know you. I don't care what's happening. So I realized something after that event because he kept going and going and going. And I did not have the energy or like confidence to signal him that I would like to exit the conversation because it was so draining. And I didn't know this guy, and he just like whoosh, you know? And after leaving that social gathering, it got me thinking. I was like, what's going on here? Because the version that I want to create for myself, that I want to embody for myself at this present moment, would have given this man a hint that I wasn't really wanting to have that conversation. But I didn't because I was scared. And I ended up reflecting on it. I ended up, like talking about it, journaling about it, posting about it, I posted something about the other day, like, at this point in my life, I would rather be seen as selfish than helpful, because that is just the truth. Because, most of my energy that is kind of like tending towards helping people is being poured into my job, is being poured into my career, it's being poured into the podcast, it's being poured into the tarot readings, it's being poured into the coaching, it's being poured into literally every single thing I post on social media. I guard that energy quite well, and I do not go out of my way to help somebody that I knew would never return the favor and just doesn't like won't take my advice. So I feel like I'm doing a great job at that, of like protecting my deeper well of inspiration and advice. I take it very seriously. And in that moment at the social gathering, as this guy was trauma dumping on me, I felt like a younger version of myself again. Like I was completely like whoosh, kind of reverted back into that mental state where I was too scared to take up space, where I was too scared to set boundaries. And I know this is such a silly thing, and some of you are going to be like, okay, this is not that big of a deal. Essentially, it wasn't. But for me, it definitely sparked some emotions within me that made me realize that I do not want to be a person anymore that is always easily approachable with everybody else's issues. Because, truth be told, as I said, I don't care. And we shouldn't care. We shouldn't feel the need to care if they would never, ever, ever return the favor to you. And that's kind of the energy I got from that person, because I didn't ask a single question and also like kept talking over me as I was like trying to give advice. And I was like, so I realized I need to tend to my temple, my inner temple, my outer temple. I need to level the fuck up when it comes to tending towards my temple, my altar, temple. I'm not sure what word I would prefer to use, but I'm just gonna say altar because I think that's I'm a very witchy person. I have a couple of, witchy spots in my apartment, which I guess you could call altars because there's crystals on it, there's candles on it, there's perfumes on it, there's little trinkets on it, my journal is on it. That is the place where I light incense. And it seems like a beautiful physical reflection of what I want to embody internally and what I want my inner altar to look like. And in order for my inner altar, my inner garden to bloom, I need to be okay with the fact that I would rather want to appear as selfish than helpful. Because my whole life I have given out so much to people who just don't deserve it. And for me, in order to balance the scales again, I want to appear more selfish. I want to appear more arrogant, because for me, right now, I feel like it is just very needed in my healing journey and in how I can balance the scales again. So I just wanted you to know that there's this crazy stigma around choosing yourself and, you know, becoming more selfish, becoming more self absorbed, which I really think is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. It is needed in today's world because we are continuously being bombarded by so many different energies, whether we open social media, whether we watch the news, whether we go outside. We are completely being bombarded with everything. It is not normal. There's way too much information going into our heads, going into our inner garden. And we must set boundaries in order to keep our inner garden clean and blooming. It is not selfish, it is needed in order for your inner garden to continue blossoming, because only when your inner garden is blossoming, you can pour into other people's cups. If you think about it, if you really think about it, it is the least selfish thing that you can do. Putting yourself first and becoming more selfish is the most selfless thing you can do, because by doing so, you are tending towards your inner temple, your inner altar, your inner garden. You're letting it blossom again, and by doing so, you can finally pour into other people's cups with more ease. If you wouldn't be doing that, you would keep getting dragged and being drained, and then there's nothing for you to give anymore. So, therefore, it's not selfish. It is also selfless. If you want to keep showing up as the best version of yourself, you have to do what you have to do. And for me as well, like in that moment at that party, I realized I need to become more selfish so I can keep showing up as the best version of myself on social media, on whatever I share. I want to show up as the best, most wise and energetically overflowing and blossoming version of myself. There is no other choice. I have to do that, because if I wouldn't be doing that, if I wouldn't become more selfish, then I'll keep getting dragged and dragged and dragged, because especially if you are some kind of healer, because I embody the healer archetype, I send out this energy to other people that there's some healing energy in the space, in my heart, in my inner garden, that they could harness. But it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, and we as healers have to set those boundaries. We have to put loving guards up. It is not a bad thing. And ever since that situation, my life has been changing. My life has been evolving. And I realized, I'm no longer going to overpour from an empty cup. I'm no longer going to pretend that being selfless is the way to go. In some instances, it is, yes. And this is also something I wanted to talk about. Like, you can be selfless, you should be selfless, but only when it comes to certain situations and people. For example, your friends, your love web of people in your life that are there for you and that support you. Your relationship, your family, if it's a, balanced type of energy you got going on there. Those things, you should inconvenience yourself from time to time. And I'm also going to talk about this in another episode soon, because we should be selfless to the people that love us and that we love. We should inconvenience ourselves from time to time for the people that we love, because sometimes there comes a point where we are going to need our loved ones. And we would wish for them to also be okay with them inconveniencing themselves so that they can tend to us. It is an equal energy exchange. What I'm talking about here is that you should not wear your heart on your sleeve for strangers that are going to abuse it. You should not let all of your inner fountain flow into a stranger's cup if they haven't proven themselves worthy first. Only when your fountain, your deeper well, is completely overflowing, then yes, do what you want to do what you feel called to do. But you don't owe anyone anything. who you do owe something to is your love web, your loved ones. I truly believe that. It's a hill I will die on. I hate this mentality of like, oh, you don't owe your friends anything. Honey, you do. If you want them to stick around, you do. But again, I'm going to talk about this more on a future episode. We have to put ourselves first. We have to decorate our inner altar with love, ease, and a healthy, loving inner guardian that protects our altar. And trust me, that magic will appear when every single area in your altar, in your inner garden, is balanced, by what you consume, music, shows, movies, foods, your habits, and the things you do in your day-to-day life, If all of that is in alignment, and if all of that is supporting your inner garden to blossom, that is when magic happens. And one of the most important parts of that is being more selfish. That also happens to be the most selfless thing. If you truly want to help others, you have to be more selfish. Anyways, my angels, I hope you enjoyed this rather short podcast episode. I feel like I was very caffeinated and it all happened very fast. So I am going to bless you with a more longer episode very soon. But I had to get this off my chest, and I had to let you know that it is okay. It is okay. It is needed, and it is selfless to be selfish. Not in all situations, because your loved ones deserve your love. Your loved ones deserve your overflow. Your loved ones deserve your inconvenience. Okay? But yeah, it's interesting how some events can just make you realize a lot of stuff. And then you end up sitting down, recording a podcast episode over it. By the way, I am wearing the Optimism Choker, which is available on my handmade crystal jewelry website at 12thcharms.com. The link is in the description box. You can also find tarot readings, one-on-one coaching sessions there, and also my workshop, my online course, The Easy Life. I have recently created this, and it is a deep dive on how you can make your life more easy. And it is 4 30-minute plus videos where you can dive in, where you can find out how you can get all of your spiritual ducks in a row so your life can feel easy again, because that is your birthright. So feel free to join. And yes, I will see you guys next Thursday. I love you so much. Keep glowing, keep growing, put yourself first. Bye.